Hey guys, it's Tony with Backwoods Biker Magazine and Wood Tramp Outdoors. I want to talk to you today about one of the most dangerous things that could potentially happen to you if you're trying to enjoy the outdoors. Hang tight. All right, I got Tater with me today. I don't know how long he's going to be in the camera shot, but he's out here with me today. All right, what I want to talk to you about is something that I encountered just 2 days ago. Today happens to be Easter morning 2021, so this occurred on Good Friday just a couple days ago. But this is a campsite that I and my wife enjoy throughout the summertime. Come over here, come on. Throughout the summertime, and so we're set up kind of permanent here. And the fire pit that you see here has been here for quite a while, and it sits out here obviously throughout the winter time. And the rock that you find in this fire pit all came from the strip mines that is located in this area. It was strip mined for many years. So consequently, you've got a lot of sandstone, you got limestone, you got a lot of porous rock is what I'm saying. They make a good looking fire pit, but they can also make a dangerous fire pit. And what I mean by that is that over the winters that we have here in the Midwest, in the eastern woodlands, we get a lot of snow, and spring brings a lot of rains, and these rocks will absorb that moisture, and they will retain that moisture until it slowly evaporates out, which it does every season. So what you have to do when you have a fire pit like this is that your very first fire in the early spring, late winter, early spring, is you have to have a very small fire, just enough to slowly heat those rocks. And as they slowly heat, that expanding vapor will actually dissipate in a very non-dangerous way. You don't even notice it as it goes out, and you can build up your fire, and everything is good for the whole season because when a heavy rain happens and then the very next day it's 75 degrees out, the rocks are evaporating naturally from the solar. But what we encountered this time was a little bit different. My wife, when she comes out during the winter, we're out here checking on things throughout the winter. She likes to throw twigs and leaves and all that, and we had a pretty big pile inside this fire pit. But she also had brought out a bag of leaves from our home, the kind of bag that you find at Walmart that you buy, the big paper ones, and she had it about a third full, and that was down towards the bottom of that pit. And a friend showed up, and he and I were talking, and on this day, Friday, it was about 48 degrees out here, maybe 50, but the wind was tremendous. It was 30 miles an hour with gusting up to 40 miles an hour, which is a pretty good clip. Right now, it's probably a soft 7, maybe even a 10, and you might be able to hear that because I'm not mic'd up with a lavalier mic. This is just ambient sound. And it was cold, and my buddy, he didn't have a jacket on, and he's a smoker, and he wanted to smoke, so I thought, you know what, I'll just go ahead and start the fire. But it was very wet, and because I was out here not planning to make a fire on that day, I had no SFK1 fire cakes. I had nothing really to be able to start a fire, except in the shed that I have over here. I had a can of gasoline, and I came out and I soaked the fire lay with gas, and again, it was a pretty big fire lay, and I let it soak for a while in order for the fumes to be able to move, and the wind was blowing it. And in order to light it, I went and got a corn cob out of the field that you see behind me that was dry, and I put some gas on it and walked away from the fire, being careful, or away from the fire lay where the fumes are at, and I lit it, and I came over and I threw it in the fire, and of course, it burst into a great flame. And I turned to him, and I was talking to him. And I wasn't thinking about what was transpiring. I wasn't thinking about the science that was getting ready to climb up on me here. And as we're talking, the wind is driving. You can see the way that I have built this fire pit in order to catch the wind coming off this field. This field is almost 2 miles long that way, and when it's down like this with no crops in it, no beans, no wheat, no corn, the wind really climbs fast and it drives hard. And this fire pit is designed to catch that wind and to keep the fire going. I can pull the coals out in this keyhole here to be able to cook off of. While I'm talking to him, this fire is raging, and I'm talking about superheating. And as it did so, it superheated those rocks behind me. And as I turned, without being full face to it, there was an explosion. And it was very, very violent. The explosion was such that it knocked me back into this tree here, and subsequently I fell down on my side, on my shoulder, and while I'm going down, I could feel there was moisture on my face, and my first thought was I had gasoline and that I was on fire. And I began to pat my face with my gloves that I had on, and I realized I'm not on fire. And when I stood up, the first thing that I said to him was, "What the hell was that?" And he was saying the same thing to me. And I said, "Somebody must have put an aerosol can in there for that to go like that." And I began to look. There was no aerosol can. And my second thought was maybe it was a partial jug of water or something, because that could happen also if it's superheated very quick. The water in a jug will start to evaporate before the plastic melts. And I couldn't find any evidence for that. And I went to bed that night, and my shoulder was killing me because I was slammed pretty hard down on the ground here. I got up the next day and I came out and I began to look through all the ashes that was here, trying to find evidence. And I did find some evidence. And this is it right here. 2 huge pieces of rock that broke apart, that exploded through that bag of leaves. You know, I really don't like my wife throwing bags of leaves inside my fire pit, you know, but in truth, it probably saved my life this time, because what happens whenever that superheated fire hit that firewall right here, hit that rock face, the water inside of that solid water inside of there turned into a gas almost immediately and had nowhere to go. And it exploded with the same force that you would experience with a hand grenade and the shrapnel that follows that initial explosion. You know, I felt the force, the energy being released, which pushed me back into the tree. But fortunately, that bag of leaves that was there, that wet bag of leaves, kept these 2 pieces of sharp. I mean, that's sharp. I could cut my finger with that. If that would have hit me in the face, if that would have hit me in the chest or hit my friend, it would have probably ended in one of our deaths. That's not being an exaggeration. That is the absolute truth. And, you know, that is a novice mistake that a beginner outdoorsman would make. And how did I make that? It's because that I disregarded everything. I was distracted with the conversation. I was in too much of a hurry. I should have taken all of the debris out of the fire pit and do what I do every year: slow fire, low fire, let it happen. But it was cold and the wind was driving. And the reason that I thought this would make a good teaching video is because if you are ever in a survival situation, and especially in the winter with extreme temperatures, and you are shivering and you are cold, you will make bad decisions. You have to really think through this thing when it happens. You have to start thinking when you are pushed into a survival situation. And this would be one of them. You know, no matter how cold you are, you still have protocols that you have to follow. And this is one of them. If you're dealing with rocks, trying to build a wall that's going to reflect some heat back to you, if you're wanting to heat rocks to boil water, you have to be very careful to do it very, very, very slowly. this would be also a time for me to tell you, if you're out in the wilderness and you're looking to get into an over rock face overhang to protect you from the wind and the rain, and you want to start a fire, you must be extremely careful, because they have found people under 2 tons of rock where it exploded and just came down on them. So that is one of the bad life lessons that I wanted to teach you today. This is a great teaching moment and a great reminder for me, to be slow and to be very, very cautious and think everything out. So I hope this was helpful to you. If it is, then write some comments down there, other than I was stupid. Don't, I already know that. But if you got something to add, be glad to be able to see that there. So if you like the video, please share it. Become a subscriber. When you do, you always get entered into our monthly database for free gear. And as always, you guys ride free, you live free. Right now, it's going to be 75 degrees later on today. Great riding weather, whether you're a motorcyclist or a bicyclist. And so, as always, you stay safe out there.